Hi guys, Coach Victor Robledo here today, and today we're going to talk about how emotions might be making you sick. Now this is something I've been studying for some time, but before we get into that, please like and subscribe this video to send it out. I need everyone to see this video because it is what's missing in understanding the connection between mind, body, and health. And it becomes incredibly frustrating when I'm trying to work with people. Sometimes they don't have an understanding that their body and mind are connected. And so we're going to start talking a little bit of Eastern medicine and combine it to some basic physiology. I promise you it won't get too techy, but I want to make sure you have a firm understanding. First off, let's start off with Eastern medicine. Now, in general, we always say, "Oh, I love you with all of my heart." But I'm actually want to let you know that it's probably, when you say that, you should say, "I love you with all of my liver." And let me explain why. So the liver is obviously located down here on this side of the rib cage. It's a massive organ. It actually has about 500 different processes that it actually does. And so what I'm about to do is explain a little bit about how it's connected to our thinking and emotions. Now, aside from those 500 things that I just mentioned, let's talk about how it's connected. Okay, so the brain and liver are directly connected via the hypothalamus. Now, that's really the connection that I want to talk about today. Now, the hypothalamus is where we feel every single emotion in our body. So if you're angry, you feel in your hypothalamus. If you're sad, you feel in your hypothalamus. If you're happy, you feel in the hypothalamus. Okay, so first part, the hypothalamus is actually connected to the liver via your vagus nerve, right? And so by default, if you're feeling happy, that's going to send a signal to the liver, right? And it's going to affect the processes. I think most people realize that if they're sad, it has a direct impact on their body. I have many people that come in and their stomach hurts, and we talk about what the stress is in life, and sometimes that dissolves that, or they have chronic pain in their shoulder, and I do a little physical therapy, but I also talk a little bit about what's going on in their lives, and that can kind of change. Those aches and pains can actually go away within a session by combining the two things. And this is what we really need to address in our current system. So the hypothalamus connects via the vagus nerve to the liver. And so we feel every emotion, it talks to the liver. Now this is where it gets interesting. This ultimately is created in a loop, and you'll see my little drawings here, that can kind of impact the body. And this is where it becomes really, really sad, because people sometimes don't feel that. Now, if 90% of what we're thinking is happening on a subconscious level, we got a problem if your subconscious is like, "Oh, I'm so sad," or, "Oh, I'm just so angry at the world." And obviously in the time that we're in, it's added overload. I always tell my clients that you can only tolerate so much stress, and your bucket, the size of your bucket, starts to overflow. When that starts to overflow, that becomes a problem, namely on your liver. And so what we're talking about is how to take care of that liver, and I can talk a little bit about the detox and the diet associated with that to help you detox your liver and make sure you're feeling good. But let's get back to that. So now that you have an understanding that that's connected, that emotional connection. So we covered the Eastern medicine, we covered the 500 processes, we talked about the emotional connection associated with it. Now, just a little bit of tidbit, the hypothalamus, which is dead center right in the brain there, half of its function is hormone and half of it is neural. So it's communicating in lots of different ways. And in general, the cycle works this way, right? So we have a signal that goes to the hypothalamus, sends a signal to the body. So you're happy, it's going to create certain types of hormones that react. And we don't need to get to understanding that. Happy hormones. Let's keep it really, really simple. So you get happy, haha. It's going to send a signal to the pituitary gland, which then sends a signal to the liver. Send a signal to the pituitary gland to specific areas to produce that happy hormone. Or if you're feeling very manly and you need aggression, you're going to send it to, if you're a male, into your testes, and you're going to generate more testosterone. And then the body has to send it to the liver to process. And that's why I think people don't understand that. So if you have a liver issue, and you can essentially have a hormone issue eventually, because the hypothalamus talks to the pituitary. Pituitary talks to specific areas in the body, whether it's the adrenals, which provide excitatory hormones for women as well. It provides some androgens, which are those testosterone. Yes, women do create testosterone. Talk to the body. It processes in the liver, and then it's sent back into the body. Well, if you have a problem with this loop, meaning you're not in control of your emotions, or you have consistently had a disposition, we say. Dr. Joe Dispenza always says, at first people say, oh, don't talk to him right now, he's in a mood. Oh, or that's his personality, or that's just how he is. I always think that we should have a really big impact on people and go, hey, is this the person you want to be? Because this is becoming consistently evident. And a lot of times I don't think people are actively doing it, and it can be because of this loop. Because once you start affecting this initially, right, that relationship, you start impacting how the liver is going to function. So I have a little sad face here depicting the gut health sadness trap. And this is where it's really important. Now, if on some subconscious level, or even in real life, like you are upset, right? We know that we just talked about this little quick flow chart. The hypothalamus is going to talk to the liver, and the liver is going to regulate a little bit as best as it can to like put off different things, right? So it's going to talk to the body and have an impact on the body. And so it starts literally changing and down regulating who you are. And this is what I call the gut health sadness trap. Because at first, it's all well and good when you want to be sad. But what if at some point, on some microscopic level, your body starts self-perpetuating that? Now, it sounds like it could be crazy, but I think most people understand, if you're at all into health, the idea of dysbiosis. And dysbiosis is when we have this bad bacterial overgrowth, or we have dis-ease in the gut health. That is affected by this, right? And so you end up in this trap. This is a problem because 90% of our feel-good neurotransmitters are made in your gut. So let's get this straight. We talked a little bit about having a negative loop, right? If you're sad, it's going to affect the liver, right? It's going to change how the enzymatic, right? So when we're talking about the liver, we're talking about the liver responds to our chemistry. And so if our chemistry is off, it's going to impact our body's health. And now everyone knows this on some level, like that your emotions are going to impact your health, but very few people actually put it into practice. I'm like, oh, what am I thinking right now? Maybe I should have an impact on that right now so I don't go down this way. And so if you start consistently doing that and it gets to a point where you're creating a negative loop, your neurotransmitters to feel good are not even being produced, and then the liver keeps talking to the hypothalamus, and guess what? It goes the opposite way. So instead of you being in control of your emotions, the liver talks back to the hypothalamus and starts to impact your emotions. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't like the idea of not being in control of my emotions. If I want to be happy, I want to be happy. But what if you look at this little simple model, you can understand that there might be a lot of people that have not taken care of their body or the detoxification, they don't exercise, they have some unresolved issues in their past or in their present that start to have a negative loop on their emotions. And then it's self-perpetuating. And so that's as simple as I could put that. And it's very, very powerful when you think about it, because then you can sit and think about it for a little bit. After you watch this video, take a moment to sit. Maybe close your eyes, maybe do a little meditation. This is where a program that's varied, that addresses both mind and body, is the next evolution of health and wellness. And so people always talk about fitness. Oh, I love fitness. Well, that's good until it's not so good. And if you notice, most people struggle. The majority. If you happen to be the exception, that's awesome. Most people struggle with keeping any regimen. And that's because of that negative feedback loop or the sadness loop that's associated with the liver. And then we end up with a lot of toxicity. And so the solution sometimes is to really go through a water fast and then modifying your diet so you're avoiding any allergens. And this is why I'm a massive believer, over years, I've known quite a few plastic surgeons. And one of the lines that always sticks with me, that I always share with people, is that before a plastic surgeon goes in and does a nose job, they have to go in and break the nose, and then they'll fix it. And so this is sometimes the same thing. You got to go in and you got to go all in and fast to detoxify the liver. We also at a high point, not only in dysbiosis, but parasite overload in the body. Yeah, we inhale quite a bit and all that's loading our body. And so the fast helps all those things to die. And then you can move that out, cleanse that out, and then you can start eating in a specific manner to help you. And so for the last and final point here, it's, we have a wide variety of mental disorders, right, in our society. We have GI issues, we have cancer. Now, it's not a huge step for you to look at this simple loop and realize that that can be self-perpetuating to a point that you are not in control. But it all starts off with keeping that liver healthy, keeping those 500 processes working for you, being aware of the emotional situation or the emotional person that you're being, and projecting to that person you want to be. Okay, and so that's how emotions can make you sick. If you're sad and you're struggling with it, or you're in that pit where it's like, now you're bad, it takes a while. I have huge empathy with and compassion for a lot of people. I have been there. There was a point where I had massive adrenal fatigue where I know if I tested for my liver enzymes, it would have been off the charts. So if your liver enzymes are off and you got all this disarray, start with a little liver cleanse. And that's as easy as a Google search, guys. All right, that's it for today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you want to set up a coaching call, the email's down there as well.